These 5 scenes scarred my psyche as a child forever, and now I'm here to share in the trauma. I'm here to revisit those 5 scenes that neither the writers or the directors knew were going to be as scary as they were. And I'm not just talking about scenes from horror movies. Some are from PG-13 movies that kids were watching. The writers had no idea that they were going to come out this scary, and all of us children who watched them suffered for it. If you're new to this channel, I have 2 basic fears. Smiling brunette demonic woman in the dark, and tentacle pale disgusting wet aliens that want to shove their tentacles in your mouth and ass. Those scare me more than anything, but there's stuff from these scenes I'm about to show you that goes beyond even that. 5 scenes that were too scary for the movie they were in. We're gonna go through some honorable mentions. King Kong, the terrors of Skull Island in Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong movie. The fucking slugs, holy god! Our crew of characters goes to the island to save fine-ass Noami from the clutches of an ape. But then they find themselves in the midst of all these insects, this pit of insects, and these slugs starts swallowing these people whole. This dude, Smeagol himself, gets swallowed from head to toe. All of his limbs getting swallowed by multiple slugs. I saw this as a child in theaters. You can only imagine the generational trauma that's inflicted upon the populace when it came out. Slither. A comedy horror movie, but regardless, just as disgusting. These parasitic aliens that infect everybody. But the worst is the scene in the barn. The scene in the barn is disgusting. This chick grows in size, alright? She is like this large, fat molt of just flesh. And basically she explodes. She explodes. Yeah, this traumatized me as a kid. Yes, it's a comedy horror. Yes, there's some humor to this. It's disgusting. Evil Dead 2013. Look, I was in high school when I saw this. I was still pretty young, and I didn't find a lot of this movie scary. I thought it was just mostly gory, which it was. It was way more gory than it was scary. But Mia, when she gets possessed and turns to a demon, when she starts telling her brother, in possessed demon form, come down here and I'll suck your c***. Your sister's burning and getting R-worded in hell. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, though. She starts doing shit like this, yeah? And by the way, this is one of the scariest things about this creature to me, is she can easily get out of that crawl space. She can easily crawl out of there, but she chooses to stay down. And then one of these stupid-ass characters decides to go down into that fucking cellar, that basement, and is in the dark with Mia. And Mia confronts her, takes the razor blade. Okay? I can't even show this. I'll get demonetized. Takes the razor blade. First of all, bites the chick here, right in the crevice of the hand. The places, ugh, this just icks me. You bite it here, ah. So she's now infected, this blonde chick. Instead of killing her, because she knows she's infected already, she starts playing and toying with her, scaring the fuck out of her. And all of us, me, smiling demonic woman in the dark, pulls out the laser blade, puts it to her tongue, and literally pierces her tongue in half with it. And then tongue kisses with all that demon blood. Tongue kisses the blonde chick. Again, you could say it's more gross than it is scary, but to me, this is like the worst of the worst. This actress is very attractive. In this scene, I'd rather off myself. With a flamethrower. AVPR, the Predelian, the apex creature of the entire franchise, the most disgusting. I'm gonna make another video about this creature because this is like the Epstein of the alien universe. It basically can impregnate you by doing this with its tendrils on your face. It's not like a typical alien queen. It can just go inside your mouth and shove down little babies inside of you. And it does it to a pregnant woman so that the multiple aliens can hatch out of her womb that's already pregnant with twins, and the fetuses are swallowed up by the xenomorphs, and the xenomorphs burst out of her pregnant body. I watched this when I was a child in 2007. Oh! Look at this! Skinamarink. Now this is more a recent film, but listen, child abuse, this stuff, when I see this stuff in movies, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm very sensitive to this kind of shit, you know? I'm like, fucking hell. And that's what this movie is. These kids trapped in this fucking dimension with this entity. Now, this whole movie is one long traumatic event, but there's multiple jump scares. The telephone scene, the famous telephone scene. Then you have random scenes where the kid sees his mother on the bed and then the mother disappears and then this fucking jump scare, light comes on. Like, it's... This movie, my fucking iPad, my lens keeps falling out, and I don't know what to do about it. Calvin, life. Look, I've talked about this, I'm not going to go into it more, but this creature, when it starts choking out the rat, the mouse, and then the guy zaps Calvin to bring him back, to wake him up again, and then Calvin grabs onto the hand like this. This is like my worst nightmare, besides smiling brunettes. Breaks his hand to smithereens. then grows and grows in size to the point where it attacks Ryan Reynolds and it goes inside of him, goes into his mouth, and rips his insides. These are more recent films. It's these two I just mentioned, but this is still scary. This is fucking terrifying. Now we're getting into the top 5, okay? This is it. Lake Mungo. If you know, you know. If you know, you know the scene I'm about to talk about. There's no way the writers knew this shit was gonna be this scary, okay? Their daughter dies in Lake Mungo, and they have to live with her death, but there might be a ghost haunting their house that could be their daughter, or so they think. This is what her dead body looks like, okay? For all intents and purposes, she's dead, but there might be a ghost haunting. So it's like a found footage type, documentary type movie, right? It seems to be the case that daughter's ghost isn't really around. But then they get cell phone footage, mobile phone footage of her alive at Lake Mungo. And we see that basically the footage shows her walking through Lake Mungo alone, very depressed looking, digging up and digging a hole in the ground, randomly putting shit into it. And then she grabs the camera and starts walking, and then we see a face, an apparition come up, and it's this. Now, when you see it in the movie, it's way more terrifying, especially when you realize what this is. This is her in the future dead. She sees her own death walk by her. It's like this is like a ghostly time loop that this film takes place in. It's very, very terrifying when you first watch. I can't even explain. The problem is I'm explaining it to you here, but this is going to be one of the more softcore things I mention in this video, because what I'm explaining here will never be as scary as the actual thing. You need to watch it. You need to watch it. Lake Mungo is one of the scariest ghost films ever, right? Number 4, The Mummy. Now, this is a comedy, an action comedy. You'll be damned if I don't tell you that there's some really scary shit in here. All right? Imhotep's initial design, when he's mummified, right before waking up, is horrifying. It's horrifying. The mummy in this film is not the thing that terrifies me as a kid. I always wanted to skip a particular scene in this film whenever it would come on, right? And it involves the scarabs. Yes, sir. As someone who's also afraid of insects, this is not good. Not good for a child to see, all right? The scarabs look like this initially, and our characters are hunting for gold and treasure here. That's the whole point that they're in Hominoptera for. And this dude, the prison warden that decides to join them, I can't take this dude seriously, man. He's too funny. He thinks that these things are gold, so he starts picking at them. He's like, oh, yes. He starts looking at all of them and saying, bro, I've struck gold. And then you start to realize these insect-shaped gold coins or whatever, they're insects. They're beetles. Beetles that break out of the shell and cook whatever's near them. They were used for the main mummification process. In the opening scene, they literally eat your flesh alive when you're mummified. It's terrifying. Bro, I'm gonna be honest, man. The Mummy's usually low-key kind of scary. This movie, despite it being an action comedy for the most part, when you see the mummification process, the tongue getting cut out, and then you see him being wrapped up, and then they shove these things onto you, bro, that's hell on earth. Bro, if I hated someone the most in my life, this is the exact method of death I would use on them. But this guy starts to grab them and put them in his bag, and then they start hatching. The insects start hatching, and they break inside of his skin. Oh! They get inside of his skin and starts like making their way up here and then eating him from the inside. And then one of the funniest scenes in the movie literally proceeds this, where this guy starts yelling and screaming because all these creatures are inside him, and he runs and offs himself by slamming into a wall. It's one of the funniest sequences in the film, but it's also one of the most terrifying, and I will never fucking try to watch this shit again. It's terrifying. Number 3. Again, King Kong has made a return. Because remember what I said, y'all. Remember what I said. The scenes that I'm talking about were too scary for the movies they were in. They had no business being in this kind of movie. I watched this with my family, but I was a child in 2005, right? The slug scene's bad. But there's another scene that was traumatic for me. It's when they first enter Skull Island, and they're greeted by them, the natives of Skull Island. And this little child does this, bro, I'm telling you, bro. There's something about chicks like The Ring, and all these girls with their hair down that look like evil, and they do crackling noises. Bro, it's terrifying. She does this, and then one of the, I think, is it Jack Black, the moron who decides to feed her candy, like chocolate? Hey, you want some chocolate? And then she's like, bites onto his hand. No surprise there, dumb fuck. And then all of her people come out and start like staring down the white chick. Noami's getting fucking stared down because they want to sacrifice this chick to a goddamn ape. That's what we're dealing with here. You arrive on an island and you're greeted by natives that are like, I'm gonna take that hot bitch and sacrifice her to an ape. They all start surrounding them. This old chick, bro, I was a kid. This is a witch, bro. She was like, oh, go. I'm like, bro, I'd nuke this place from orbit! If I ever saw this and I decided to leave and then come back later, drop the atomic fucking bomb, bro. It's not just because of the slugs and the giant apes that want to kill me. These people were destroying everything, bro. One of them decides to take one of the scientists or whoever, gets his head bashed in. They put him on this rock, and then this dude's like, oh, breaks his head in. You don't see it obviously because it's PG-13, but it's still way more. You do see some blood though pouring down, bro. It's how is this allowed in a PG-13 film? I don't understand. And then she's taken and put on this sacrificial mount for Kong. It's terrible, bro. You know what the scariest thing about it is? They actually escape from the island, and because they use guns to stop the natives, and they go back to the ship, and then the freaking natives find their way onto the ship with these big ladder things, and then grab her. Bro, they are terrifying. The natives in the Kong 2005 movie are horrifying. Y'all know I'm telling the truth here. Number 2. I don't even remember what I put on this list. Oh, shit. The Fly, Jeff Goldblum. One of my favorite body horror movies of all time. Now, yes, this is to be expected in a body horror Cronenberg film, but at some point I'm just like, bro, this is too much for even him. So this dude decides to create a teleportation machine, but a fly gets caught in there with him, and he turns himself basically into a hybrid. So his DNA is fused with an insect, and he starts changing and transforming over the course of the movie. It's disgusting. He's making love to a chick, and then you see the mosquito spikes on his back, and that's when I was like, oh, this is I can't. But the worst part isn't even that. The worst part is when you see the end. Oh god, I can't even look at it. Basically, he's transformed into this husk of flesh. And he starts confronting his love interest, and he's just walking towards her, and she's crying because if I was in her position, I'd be shitting myself too, looking at this thing. And then his skin and flesh starts breaking apart, so that the inner fly can come out. I'm telling you, man. When I was seeing this, I watched this once when I was a kid, bro. I was like, oh, bro, I this is why when I'm eating food and I'm sitting across from a person, when they have stuff on their face, I get really triggered. For some reason. I think it's because of this movie. I think this movie just did something to my brain. His flesh starts breaking out, and the mosquito physique comes out, and he looks like this, and he's begging her to shoot him with a shotgun. It's really sad, man. It's really tragic ending, but it's terrifying. This is one of this. I don't consider this a horror movie, but this is like one of the scariest, not exactly horror movies I've ever seen in my life. People talk about The Substance and how terrible that was for body horror, which is true, but this is way worse to me. Number 1. Here we go. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Now, this is a horror movie, so I am cheating a little bit here, but there is one shot in this film. Nobody could have known how scary this would become, right? Jennifer Carpenter plays a character called Emily Rose who gets possessed, maybe by a demon. Probably. By the way, she deserves all the credit in this role. She's a very underrated actress. She was great in Dexter. She was great in Brawl and Cell Block 99. She was great in this. Fucking amazing. Beautiful. Everything, okay? So she gets possessed and a priest tries to help her, and she dies in the ensuing exorcism, which calls into question the priest. So he's taken to court. Might go to jail for manslaughter or whatever, right? But then we see the story of Emily Rose from multiple perspectives. Emily Rose gets systematically broken down and tortured by this demon, like most demon possession films work. By the way, this is one of the best demon possession films ever. No one really brings it up that much, but it's underrated as fuck. It's great. So we see all these crazy scenes of her being possessed and speaking like some dead Latin language and whatnot, and scratching the walls and shit. That's not the scariest part. The scariest part are the initial stages of the possession. So first of all, she gets molested by a demon in the bed. She can't move. She gets paralysis, and then she is getting effed by this demon, alright? Then her brother stays with her to help her, calm her down and whatnot, to keep an eye on her. And the brother wakes up, and you can imagine the fear from him if you were to wake up and see this shit too. So he wakes up and he's like, oh fuck. And he sees this staring back at him. Just this. Yeah. You can't tell me you wouldn't shit yourself and vomit at the same time if you saw that. He's seeing this to stare at him. And who knows how long she's been like that too. Imagine this, bro. Imagine you wake up and see some shit like this. That's one of the most terrifying experiences a person could have, period, point blank. That's what he saw. That's arguably the scariest. It's not even a jump scare, to be honest. Not really. It's arguably the scariest shot in the entire movie. I think it is. Yeah, when I saw this, bro, I was done. I was done, man. My aunties were with me. They were like, yo, they were telling stories about, they had just watched this movie with me, and they were telling stories about, there was a woman with dark hair that was murdered in this house, apparently. I was like, bro, what the fuck? Are you trying to kill my brain? You're trying to traumatize? This is child abuse. Those are the 5 scenes that had no right to be as scary as they were. Those are bad. What are your 5 scenes that traumatized you as a child? Let me know in the comments. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.